The Norman Conquest of 1066 changed the anthropological fabric of the British Isles, combining the Anglo-Saxon and the Norman ethnic identities into the new English identity and establishing a new stage in British history. England and its daughter nations are well known all over the world due to their cultural hegemony and influence. What is not widely known is that England proper began to exist in the Middle Ages and was the result of a legendary invasion that marked human history forever. Good morning, Dr. Council and my fellow classmates. My name is Guillerme, and today it is my honor to inform you about the Norman Conquest of 1066. Today you will learn about the Norman Conquest of England, its direct results, and about the historical ripple effect that continues to echo today. After the death of Edward the Confessor in 1066, the Anglo-Saxon throne was empty and many contenders had placed their aims into acquiring it. Although he had promised to support William, Duke of Normandy's claim to the throne, Harold II Godwinson allowed himself to be elected king as soon as Edward had died. The move was taken because it was feared that the Norwegian king, Magnus, and his son Harold Hardrada would invade England to claim the English throne. As news of the ascension and coronation of Harold Godwinson spread, both William of Normandy and Harold Hardrada of Norway, Harold's rivals for the English throne, raised forces and planned to invade England, according to the analysis by Alan Axelrod at Infobase in 1994. Harold Hardrada, king of Norway, allied with the Orkney Vikings, and Harold Godwinson's brother, Tostig, invaded the north of England. The combined forces of Mercia and Northumbria, led by Earls Edwin and Morcar, were heavily defeated outside York. Harold was forced to march his army north to fight off the Norwegian invasion, resulting in victory for Harold and the death of Harold and Tostig. When he heard that Harold had been forced north, William of Normandy, known as the Bastard, mounted his invasion. A fleet of ships carrying about 5,000 warriors, horses, arms, and supplies left France, paid for by William's brother, Odo, Bishop of Bayeux. William landed at Pevensey in the south of England and began a march towards Hastings, where his army would encounter the Anglo-Saxon forces, led by Harold Godwinson. The Battle of Hastings was the first major battle and also was the culmination of the whole conflict, and was enough to decide the fate of the British Isles. Even though Harold's troops were tired and William had superior numbers and equipment, Harold was able to keep William at bay when they first met at Hastings. At one point, William had to rally his troops and lead a counterattack on the Saxons. Harold's forces deployed in small, dense formation at the top of a steep slope with their flanks protected by woods and marshy ground in front of them. The line may have extended far enough to be anchored on a nearby stream. The Anglo-Saxons formed a shield wall with the front ranks holding their shields close together or even overlapping to provide protection from attack. William's disposition of his forces implied that he planned to open the battle with archers in the front rank, weakening the enemy with arrows, followed by infantry who would engage in close combat. The infantry would create openings in the Anglo-Saxon lines that could be exploited by a cavalry charge to break through the Anglo-Saxon forces and pursue the fleeing soldiers. All according to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a collection of annals in Old English from up until the 12th century, chronicling the history of the Anglo-Saxons. Tradition, according to the Bayeux Tapestry, shows that Harold received an arrow in his eye during battle, causing his troops to act in confusion. Some fled, some stayed to fight to the end. After this battle, William's advance to London was uneventful, and he was able to proclaim himself King of England, despite uprisings from the Saxons during the next 6 years. William's takeover had been accomplished. The consequences of the conflict were multifaceted and included cultural, linguistic, religious, and civic changes and reforms. A significant part of the conquest agenda was a reform of the church. In 1070, William arranged for his longtime friend Lanfranc to be named Archbishop of Canterbury. Lanfranc's primary responsibility was to facilitate the reforms William wanted, including appointing foreign prelates to replace Saxon clergy and enforcing discipline in monasteries. King and Archbishop also instigated a canonical court, removing church-related cases from the secular legal system. William asserted his power to name bishops and to approve or disapprove of church doctrine and decrees without opposition from Lanfranc and the church. There was also a slight change away from traditional iconography and into the use of statuary in accordance with the Roman See and its custom. William constantly sought better means to solidify his power and manage his finances. To that end, he ordered the Doomsday Book to be assembled. This remarkable compilation, completed between 1085 and 1086, is a detailed accounting of the wealth of England, listing personages and their holdings in land and livestock, the numbers of tenants on the land, buildings, mills, and other sources of wealth. The Doomsday Commissioners also noted the devastation that England had undergone as a result of William's expeditions to put down opposition. In fact, in some areas, they released individuals from their taxes because of the poverty they found in areas where William's troops had been especially destructive. The Doomsday Book was the basis of tax assessments until 1522. One of the most significant influences of the Norman conquest was on the English language. The conquering French imposed their native tongue as the language of the upper classes, literature, and the court, considering Anglo-Saxon speech to be crude. However, the Saxons never abandoned their language, forcing the upper class to accept much of the language of the lower classes. As the Norman and Saxon languages fused over the decades, Middle English, the language of Geoffrey Chaucer, emerged, still primarily Anglo-Saxon but much enriched by French and Latin additions. Parliament was opened in English for the first time in 1352, according to John Hum at Infobase in 2016. The domino effect of history is very easily analyzed in the Norman conquest of England, as this conflict between two rulers and their frustrated dealings turned into an all-out war created the language that we speak today. After the Battle of Hastings and his dominance over the British Isles, William became known as the Conqueror, a title of honor due to the conquest he had just orchestrated. Modern England is a direct continuation of the England of William, and thus America becomes a descendant of the tradition that was established by the merge of the two cultures. To know a people, one must know their history. And to know the English people and all of their descendants all over the world, one must know of the impasse between William and Harold. Thank you for your attention.